Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon everyone, and Salam Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Ali, and I will represent all my colleagues. And the correspondence is Mrs. Shifa Rahma as and our team correspondence, and all my colleagues, Puji Astuti, Faqih, and Rafi Fahrizal. And for the first introduction into our research and our finding, we're talking about the comparison of output productivity among G20 economies. Okay, the abstraction of these empirical findings throughout for the three key findings. The first key findings is the fixed capital heterogeneity. There is a significant variation in the productivity elasticity of fixed capital among G20 countries, for except only African Union countries. And the second one is the human capital contribution. The contribution of the human capital is treated as the homogeneous in the model and showing an uniform effect. And the last one is the lowest Indonesian total factor productivity, that is represent on the intercept estimation, estimated coefficient of the Indonesia's intercept, which is contribution that is recorded as the lowest, indicating a weak aggregate productivity baseline. So, at a glance, Indonesia's development strategy must integrate physical investment, human resource strengthening, and the technological innovation for the long-term productivity enhancement. Okay, for the next slide, we're talking about our theoretical foundation, which is based on the Mankiw-Romer-Whale model. That is the extensification, the solo growth model at the 1958, which is extended on the 1992. So, there's all about. The first one is the fixed capital or the physical indicator, the primary foundation for the sustainable economic growth. So, which we hypothesize that the fixed capital or the fixed capital productivity will be increased the GDP per capita among the G20 economies. And the next one is about the human capital, or the quality of labor and education that drive innovation. So, the second hypothesis that we've built is that increasing the human capital will be increased the GDP per capita among the G20 economies. And so the last one of the hypothesis development is all about the innovation and technology that influence the quality, distribution, and utilization of capital. So, the productivity issues are highly relevant to the SDG 8, which is for the sustainable economic growth, and the SDG 9, it's all about the industry, innovation, and infrastructure, demanding integrated global policies. So, the methodology. We use the multi-level models to estimate the different coefficient of the productivity among the G20 economies except the African Union countries. The reason why that is because the African Union sample have so many outliers which can disrupt our estimation result, and that's why we diminish the sample of the African Union. So the model classification, this research employs a multi-level or the mixed effect model to compare fixed capital productivity across the G20 countries. That is, the YL is represent the GDP per capita, and the K per L, or the ratio of the gross capital formation, and pools or the laborers, which is represent the productivity of the capital or the physical capital, and the H The ratio H to the L is representing the human capital productivity. Next. And here is our empirical result for the homogeneous estimation result. The fixed effect estimate show the average contribution of fixed capital and human capital to output per worker in aggregate. For the baseline, that which we can assume that all the countries is all the same, is all about 0.1, 1, and 4. And the fixed capital or the productivity of the physical capital is 0.4, 8, and 5. And for the human capital productivity is all about 0.22 and 7. And all this empirical result is significant at the 5%, but except for the intercept is significant at the 10%. So the both fixed capital and human capital make a significant and positive contribution to average labor productivity in the G20. So for the next slide, we're talking about the Indonesia's position in the G20 for the empirical result, based on the empirical result. So the first one is all about the intercept or the basic total factor productivity, that which estimate at the 0.67. So Indonesia's very low intercept value reflects the exogenous factors suppressing the basic output. And the second one is all about the capital elasticity or the K coefficient. That's which estimated at the 0.64. A relatively high K coefficient indicating significant dependence on physical capital accumulation or the capital deepening effect. So by the G20 average K coefficient, we can imply that Indonesia's capital elasticity is higher than the G20 average, highlighting a focus on a capital accumulation on Indonesia's economy. These conditions indicates that Indonesia's growth is driven by capital accumulation, while basic efficiency or the total factor productivity remains a structural challenge. For the next slide, we're talking about the factors that suppressing Indonesia's basic productivity. The first reason or the underlying issues about this thing is about the quality of institutional and corruption. Low corruption perception index score is about the 34 points in the 2023. Suppresses basic economic efficiency and marginalizes productive investment. The second one is all about quality of human resource. Inadequate education and workforce skills limit basic output, suppressing the regression intercept. And the third one is all about the weak physical infrastructure. Poor transport, energy, and logistic infrastructure can increase transactional costs, hence lowers labor productivity. The last one is the reliance on the primary sector. An economic structure dependent on the natural resources and the agricultures, which capital-intensive, low labor absorption sectors, hence suppress the TFP contribution on Indonesia's economy. Okay, for the next one is about the implication of the high K coefficients among Indonesia's economy. The high elasticity of the fixed capital productivity in Indonesia indicates that the addition of physical capital significantly impacts output per worker. That is driven by the dominance of capital deepening. Economic growth is supported by rapid capital accumulation rather than an increase in technological efficiency. The second one is composition of capital intensive sector. The dominance of extractive and heavy manufacturing sector that require large physical capital per worker. And the last one is the limited innovation and the R&D. The low R&D investment is all about 0.080% of the manufacturing output makes productivity more dependent on physical capital. For the next one, we're talking about the policy recommendation or the policy implication based on our empirical result. The first one, integrated infrastructures improvement. Prioritize complementary projects. Like an example, electricity, infrastructures, and highways to boost local TFP, as in Brazil. The second one, strengthening institution and the human resources. Continue bureaucratic reforms, MSME empowerment, and the vocational education investment. And the last one, digitalization and the technological innovation. Promote technology-based economic transformation. Like an example, South Korea's digital New Deal to increase total factor productivity and reduce physical capital dominance. So, the conclusion or the final remarks that we will represent is capital accumulation alone is not enough. Sustainable productivity growth demands institutional improvement, investment in intangible capital, and enhancement of human capital well-being. So, for the future research focus, it is suggested to include the measurement of intangible capital and analysis at the firm or regional level, and for the policy objective purposes to raise Indonesia's intercept or the basic output and the balance the dominance of the physical capital with other efficiency factors. And so that is our presentation and our empirical result that talking about the productivity comparison among G20 economies on the Indonesia's perspective. Thank you very much for the attention, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.